Joining me today as my special guest is award-winning Canadian actor Camille Sullivan. Camille is here today to talk about her latest role as Leslie in their dark comedy, She Talks to Strangers. And she'll be talking about what's next for her, for this accomplished actor. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. You know, like I was saying before we went live or on air, that you have such an impressive resume for acting and film, and you are in demand. I mean, you've been in like Exile, Sharksea, Hunter x Hunter, Kingsway. This is just to name a few or four. I mean, how do you do it? I mean, you are in demand, but I mean, do you ever get tired? Like, I mean, you keep going. And I see your IMDb. It's just incredible.
I never get tired. No, I'll work as much as people will have me. I love to work. So no, keep it coming. I feel very lucky. I've had a very productive period and I'm super grateful.
Yes. Well, you're so passionate about what you do. And I mean, I've watched some of your clips like Hunter x Hunter, if I may say, and you're so into every role, and it's so, you know, the in depth, like you study your character so well, and it's gripping. And so as I said, I've watched a few of your clips, and I just wanted to say that it's just really an honor to speak with you today. And I want to say congratulations on the film She Talks to Strangers. Will be premiering tomorrow, I believe, at the Whistler Film Festival. Is that correct?
That's right. 6:15 tomorrow at the Whistler Film Festival. And then again the next day at noon.
Yes, it's so exciting. I've watched the film, and I wanted to ask you, what attracted you to the role?
I love Bruce's writing. He writes strong female characters, and that's, you know, so much fun to play. So much fun to play somebody who's just right out there, as well as working with Gabrielle Rose again, who I love working with, who's played my mom a couple other times, and she's such a pleasure. She's so game and so much fun on set. So those two things really drew me to it.
Yes, and I mean, you've worked on a few films, right? Which Kingsway, correct? And there was another one as well that I'm trying. Birdwatcher. Yes. Yeah. So I could see the connection with working with her, and also you've also worked with the actor who plays. I'm trying to think. The one that is your ex-husband.
Jeff Gladstone.
Gladstone. Yes.
Well, yeah, he was my brother, and then in this one, he's my ex-husband. Yeah.
Ex-husband. Oh my goodness. So this was filmed in Vancouver, is that right? In 14 days or 15 days?
Oh, yeah, it was quick. It was a labor of love in Vancouver.
Yes, and I mean, so how did you start working with Bruce? Like, how did that come about?
Just before Kingsway, he sort of, I can't remember if he called me or probably emailed me, but just saying, you know, would I be interested in reading that script, and would I be interested in working with him? And I jumped at the opportunity because, you know, I was familiar with his movies, obviously, and I thought they were great. And so I read Kingsway and I loved it. And so we worked together on that. And then, you know, that did quite well. And that led to this one.
Yes. That's wonderful. And like working with Bruce has been wonderful because you've been working with him for a few times, right? But do you have, how much involvement did you have in the script? Did you have, like, I want to do this instead, for example? Like, how much did you have, you know, involvement?
No, not at all. Bruce's script is Bruce's script. No. And by the time I read it, it was pretty much fully realized, except for changes that we made. But those were his changes. Yeah, I know. He told me what to say and I said it.
Yeah, I was, and you know, Camille, how do you prepare for this role as the daughter? I mean, you've worked with Gabrielle Rose before, but how did you prepare for it?
I try to think, generally when pick up a script the first time, I try to think of what's a kind of a theme or something that interests me about this, and then sort of branch out from there and see what sparks. So for this one, what I had written on my script was no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And so that's the way I kind of looked at the
Oh,
relationship with Jeff's character, that, you know, I had this plan, I had this life, in comes the enemy, and then, and so what do I think then I spend the rest of the movie trying to scramble to figure out, how do I win this war?
yes. I mean, but how do you do, like, how do you, like, you get into your own zone and you do a lot of script preparation. But, when I see some of these things, like you're crying, like, how do you, how do you, like, it's so convincing. And so, I mean, I felt for you, Leslie, for the dog, when you, the dog, John went
Well,
missing. And I mean,
I've had
oh,
pets who passed away, so it's it's not even that far from reality. So it touches the
oh,
nerve. You know, of old age,
yeah. So
it's
you
very
just bring,
hard, but it's heartbreaking.
yeah, because I mean, drawing on past experiences, sometimes you don't want to, but it helps, right? As you said, to get into
Yeah.
character. And I'm sorry for the loss of your dog, by the way. I
Oh,
mean, I love animals, so yeah.
yeah. No, I
Um,
try, when
I,
it's a crime scene, I try to think about the love rather than the sadness, and that tends to open me up emotionally, and then it kind of just comes.
yeah. Well, you make it look easy, I mean, you're so um it's just like, as I said, the dog, and there's other parts too, as the daughter. And then you take us on this journey, if you will, that you get along with your mom, right? At the
Yeah.
end. And it was so wonderful, and would you say this film's about relationships?
Yeah, I do think it's about relationships and sort of, the kind of notion a little bit of every man is an island, or everyone is an island rather. And like, is that true? Because at the start of the movie, Leslie has really created her own little island. It's her and her dog, and that's it. And that's all that she needs. And she doesn't really want to interact with anybody else, including her mother. And then she finds, I think, through the movie, that she does need other people, as well as her life is affected, whether she wants it or not, by other people. So it's sort of about navigating those waters of relationships, and how do you get to a place that's beneficial, and who do you stay in a relationship with, and who do you get out of a relationship with?
Yes. And people, they can relate to it, because sometimes you don't always get along with their mom and dad, and then the dog John, which I love the name, that was her best friend, and someone that loves you unconditionally, yes, if I may say. Where did you get whose dog is that? It's so
It's
beautiful.
a
It's an
friend
Aussie
of
Shepherd,
Bruce's.
correct?
Yeah, it is an Aussie Shepherd, and it's a friend of Bruce's,
Pardon?
a friend of Bruce's, who I
Yeah.
can't remember the name, unfortunately, because we shot it almost a year ago. But the dog was great. It's a girl, actually. And she was so good. She was so just like calm
Oh,
all day. Just like, you ever do a thing, just do it, and then she'd just be relaxing. Like, very well-tempered dogs.
yes. And you just said this was about a year ago. So can you share the process in making this film?
Yeah, so yeah, Bruce wrote, I mean, we were supposed to do a different script just prior to the pandemic, but then the pandemic, we were getting ready to shoot and everything, and then the pandemic came
Mm,
and kiboshed that. And then over that time, Bruce had a different idea, so wrote this script, and sent it to me, and I thought it was great. I loved it, loved the character of Leslie, loved the script. And it wasn't too long after that that we were shooting. And uh, yeah, I mean, the process is pretty organic with Bruce, because he's there, obviously, directing every day, but he's also got his writer's hat on. So, if something's not playing the way he wants it, or he doesn't like a piece of dialogue, then it changes on the fly. And, so it's very organic that way. And uh, uh, yeah, and he's working with a crew who he's worked with many times, and they're all so pro and so wonderful. So it's a real little family slash machine putting out the movie.
Yes, I mean he has his writer's hat on, producing, directing, and it was such a in the Vancouver Sun. There's been great feedback about the film, and from I'm just paraphrasing. Bruce was saying like he loves working with people with a strong work ethic, and that was like it's just like you can tell everyone's getting along, working well together, and that's why you've been working on other like more films and. But I wanted to ask you, Camille, is this your second dark comedy film? Like Allie was Screaming in 2014, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Allie was Screaming. That was a great movie, sort of a dark comedy about these people win the lottery and what will you do to hang on to that money? Like what moral boundaries will you cross? So yeah, I think it's sort of this one in the same way sort of does deal with morality and the fine lines and what you do to get what you want or what you do to survive. And in that way, they do kind of cross over thematically.
Yes, and you know, Camille, like as I said at the beginning, you have so many credits, but you, if I may say, you don't rest on your laurels. You just keep going. You keep going on everything. Like I think it's 85, if I understand. Like, and I have to ask. I mean, like, what is your, if I call it a secret? What drives you?
That's a good question. I am driven by that one. I love it. I love being on set. I love acting. I love the whole experience of making a movie. So I'm driven just by that. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to do, even though maybe not every moment is a pleasure. The overall experience is a pleasure. And I really want to create something great that speaks to people. That's the other thing is I hope to make something that somebody watches and it speaks to them in some way.
Yes. Have you thought of perhaps like directing your own film one day? I have to ask you.
Yeah, no, I have thought about it, and that might be something I work toward in the future. Yeah, because certainly I've been acting for a long time and I've done a lot of work, so I start to notice like, oh, I understand how things are happening here, and the next, not next step, but a step to sort of branch out in a different direction. Certainly, I would consider directing. I've been so luckily busy that I haven't had time and I had to really focus on anything else, but I think that time is coming soon.
Yes. I mean, you are a role model. And if, people are watching and listening, what tips would you give to someone who, wants to continue in acting or just starting?
I would say the biggest thing is to value what you bring to the table because you're unique and it's your uniqueness that's going to make you interesting to watch and that it's going to make it real. So don't get trained out of the weirdnesses that are like just bring you to the table as openly as possible and stand by yourself, stand by your work. Just because somebody doesn't like what you're doing doesn't mean it's no good.
No, thank you. That's wonderful. And people, what would you want people to take away from the film? I mean, you said a little bit in the interview, but what else would you tell? What would be the message behind it or in the movie?
I think I would like people to take away from the film, don't mess with people's pets.
I like that. Yeah, because I mean, I have to. It just you put on. I just felt like, oh my goodness, he's missing, and I was almost like, I hope they find John, but I guess he. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but he died. Like he never came back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the last
Thank you
straw. You can't bounce back from that.
um, Yes, no, well said, Camille. And I wanted to ask you, so what is next for you?
Right now I'm filming season 3 of Shoresy for Crave, and that's super fun. We got a little more
Yes.
going on that. And then next year, um, I have a movie coming out called Shelby Oaks, directed by Chris Stuckman, that will be hitting the
Oh,
festivals and then probably released later in the year. It's a horror film. I'm very, very excited about it. Exile will be coming out in Canada. I'm not sure the details yet, but
oh,
I believe early winter, Exile will be released in Canada. And I I think that's all I know about right now.
yeah, that's wonderful. And people wish to follow you or, watch the movie. Where would they go? I mean, I know it's playing at the Whistler Film Festival, but I guess, to follow your movies or watch, is there like a website that you have or?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Camille Sully, and I'm on Instagram, sullivan.camille. And I post regularly about the movies. So as they come out, I try to let everybody know. And I super appreciate anybody who watches them. I really do.
Yes, no, Camille, I wanted to thank you so much for your time today. And for those, please see the film She Talks to Strangers. And I would love to have you come back, Camille.
Sure, I would love that.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you.